We're turning our attention to the secret behind Overtime's media success with the CEO of NIT, joined by Jamie Peacock, VP of Marketing and Sales and Strategy at Overtime. Give them a big, very warm round of applause. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Brooklyn. How are we doing today? All right. My name is Aneesh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NIT. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Jamie Peacock, the VP of Marketing and Sales Strategy at Overtime. Jamie, thank you so much for being here today. Do you mind kicking us off with a quick background about your Overtime and your experience there?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. I've been at Overtime for 5 years, celebrating my 5-year anniversary this month. So been there for a long time, given the age of the company, and in general have over 15 years of experience in sports and entertainment. Started at a startup within Showtime, and then went over to the NHL and hit sports and never really looked back.
That's awesome. And yeah, you guys, how old is Overtime? 7 years now?
Yeah, about 7 years.
Awesome. So you've been there from the start pretty much. And for those of you that haven't heard about NIT, we are an AI research assistant helping some of the world's best and biggest brands like Overtime quickly understand their consumers. The best way to think about us is this AI research assistant that's automated and streamlined a large portion of the consumer research process, from generating your survey to gathering your sample to analyzing that data, both quantitative as well as qualitative video responses, to creating some incredible reports from that as well. So, and for those of you that haven't heard about Overtime, I know they're crushing it with Gen Z, so maybe a lot of you guys have already. Here's a quick teaser on the awesome brand Jamie and team have built over the last couple of years.
Hello, new world, all the boys and girls. I got some true stories to tell.
I'm thinking this is the life, man.
Drop it down and give minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Overtime is not a moment.
What a slam! Davis with the alley-oop to
It's a movement.
The world's biggest 7-on-7 league is back.
My ultimate goal is to be one of the greatest ever.
Tens of millions coming together to redefine the game.
Together on three, 1, 2, 3. Together.
We're a community of over 100 million fans and followers, adding thousands by the hour, getting stronger by the second. Will you join the revolution?
OTX Friday Night Fight.
When you're in this culture in our society, you can do some phenomenal things individually, but they'll never reach their full potential unless you do them collectively.
The love is real. You can hear them calling our name.
Well, that was awesome. So, Jamie, I'm a Gen Zer myself. My friends and I have been following Overtime for several years right now. You guys are absolutely crushing it with this next generation. What's this key to success? What's the secret sauce? Why are you guys winning with this next generation?
Thank you for the follow. We were really born to serve this generation. So our co-founders saw all the shifts happening in sports and media and sports media, and no one was really leaning into that. So instead of retrofitting something, they really leaned into that white space. And since that's how we started, really everything we do is with a laser focus on Gen Z and what they need and what they want. And so some of those keys to success are going to them. Don't try to swim upstream. We're not trying to get them to go to a .com. We're going directly to where they're spending all of their time and attention, which I'm sure you guessed it. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, we're going to where they're already spending their time. And then once you're there, it's not just a matter of showing up. We show up authentically. We use the same words and emojis, but also just in how we engage with them on those platforms. I'm a millennial, and so I grew up with television, very lean back, passive experience, and that's not the expectation today. And so when you show up on social, it's important to really engage in that two-way dialogue, participatory media. And so that's really what we do on the platform since day one. And even as we scale, we're in the comments, we're in the DMs, we're constantly asking our audience what they think and what they want more of, and really taking our cues from them, which leads into the third one. So we cover the athletes and the sports that they care about. For us, sometimes a post with a high school basketball player will see way more views and engagements than someone in the NBA. It's just a matter of focusing on who they want and the sports they want in a way that resonates.
And you guys do this through a lot of different formats, right? It comes to life in a bunch of different ways. Can you share a little bit about some of the more popular formats you guys are using to engage Gen Z?
Absolutely. And so when we think about working with brands, we want to tap into what we already do so well. Kind of think of it as a win-win-win. If we win with the audience, then we get those views and engagements, which is a win for the brand partner, and then we're able to continue working with that brand or others in their portfolio. So we really try to lean into the things that we already do really well. We look at them in 4 different formats. The first are originals. You could think of these like our television series. They're episodic, they're long form, they live on YouTube. That's really our bread and butter and original long form programming. On the flip side, we have what we call Engage, which as the name alludes to, they're meant to be very engaging. They're built for TikTok and Instagram. So it's not a cut down or a chopped up asset. It's built specifically for those platforms. One of the through lines you'll see is our talent. They play a big part in most of what we do. And here we've got one of our Engage formats, Defend or Destroy, which was sponsored by Pizza Hut for the past month. And for 4 weeks running, it was in amongst the top performing content on our channels, which is really great to see. Then we've got our social first talk shows. If you think of a talk show, it's been around as long as media has been around, but leaning into those pillars that we know about the audience, we take our talk show format, we bring it to places like TikTok and long form on YouTube, and we feature the voices that matter. We've got a lot more rolling out with current collegiate athletes, which is really exciting for us. This one is actually from Radio Row through our partnership at NFL. And the last one is media. It was very simple when I was at Sports Illustrated and was able to sell homepage roadblocks. I miss when media was that easy. But we do have a lot of turnkey media solutions through paid social and commercial inventory across the platforms.
Absolutely. A lot of different ways to engage. So if you don't follow Overtime, go through them a quick follow. It's a lot of great content out there. Now, I know in your role, part of what you're doing is also helping bring some of the best brands and helping them engage with Gen Z through your different channels. What's the big problem you're solving for them?
Yeah, so if a brand is spending on social, we generally see a problem of choosing scale or choosing influence. There are a few influencers that kind of buck that trend, but in general, you're choosing what you want to do with your dollars, which is really where we come in. And we like to say that Overtime provides influence at scale, which helps drive brand impact.
Absolutely. Yeah, not everyone has access to a Mr. Beast or someone like that, but that impact is really where our work revolves around, right? Being able to measure that impact, quantify that impact, and that's a big part of what we're doing. But I want to double tap into what you mean by influence and scale and impact. How strong is Overtime's influence with Gen Z?
It's pretty huge. I think I was only at the company for 6 months. I was actually in Greece. My husband was wearing an Overtime shirt and got stopped in a museum in Greece, and people were saying shout out Overtime and throwing up the O, and that was years ago. That's one that always gets me. It's just not I grew up watching ESPN. I never wore a shirt that said ESPN across the chest, and so I think that relationship that we have with our audience where they want to wear the O. They want to represent us the way they represent their favorite athlete or sports team in a jersey or something like that. And so this picture is from one of our apparel drops last year. That's Overtime Megan, some of our influencers and athletes up there. But that's the kind of influence that you can't buy. That has to be organic. There's a reason why sales was one of the last teams to be added to Overtime. They really wanted to cultivate that vibe, and we've done so tremendously, which then helps with everything else that's easier to quantify for a brand partner. So our content generates 4 times more engagements, and then it's also who you're reaching. Our audience is 3 times more likely to consider them influential. So that's who you want, wearing your shirt, drinking your drink, driving your car.
Absolutely. And again, it's not just the influence, but the scale at which you can do it. And your scale is absolutely massive, right? Can you speak a little bit more to the reach of Overtime with Gen Z?
Yeah, so we have our main account at Overtime across all the different platforms, and we've got soccer, football, women's basketball, and women's sports. So there's a lot of different ways that we can capture these fans and followers, which really gives us the scale. Hitting 100 million fans and followers a few months ago was a really big milestone for us to hit. And beyond the scale, it's who we're able to reach, and it's that really coveted under 35 audience that comprises over 80% of our audience.
Absolutely. And to your point, influence and scale leads to impact, and you can see it in the numbers, right? So I know we ran some research to really quantify that impact for Overtime. Do you mind walking through some of those highlights or the data points there?
Yeah, this is always what, if you think about someone wanting to wear Overtime on their chest, it's signaling that they know who we are, and if they see someone else wearing it, it means something about who that person is. And it's really similar when we bring a brand into our environment. We bring them into our audience and bring them into the fold in a really authentic way, which helps drive really great results. So that's where our audience is more likely to want to buy from a brand that they see working with us and on our channels, because it has a little bit of that transfer of influence. It signifies that the brand gets what's good to them. So we have those stats at large, like this 78%, and then we'll dive into a few of the specific studies, but it's how we're able to measure double and triple digit lifts in priority brand KPIs on specific campaigns.
Awesome. And I know we've been working together for almost a year now. I think it's about to come up, the 1 year anniversary here, but research has been a very key kind of, aspect of the work that you guys do at Overtime. And I love how you phrased it when we were talking about this earlier, right? Overtime is not just a digital first brand. You guys are a digital only brand. And that has obviously been a huge part of your success. But one of the cons or downsides of that is limited access to audience data. And that's really where KNIT and our partnership has been able to help. I'd love to tap into some of these or talk about some of these recent activations we've done. Can you speak a little bit more about how you're using KNIT, how you're gathering those insights, and more importantly, what are you doing with those insights in your business?
Right, so in supporting the sales team, there's always a need for more data, especially at this scale. And so when we tap KNIT, it's to get access to data that we can't glean from the back end of a social platform. It's not like we have our own first-party data in that regard. And so it's great to go to them where the audience is, but to your point, it leaves a little bit to be desired on the data front, and that's where we like to run audience studies, category studies, and brand lift studies.
Awesome. And what are some of those category studies you've run in the past?
Yeah, we try to specialize, so there's numbers like the scale and influence pieces that go across any brand marketer or agency person will see the value in those. But if we're talking to a specific brand or trying to crack new business, we really want to show not only how well we understand their business, but how well our audience is a fit. So if it's a QSR, a quick service restaurant, and they want to promote an upcoming LTO, a limited time offer, we want to show that our audience is the audience they want to reach. So the top stat here, for example, our audience is 50% more likely to eat at a fast food restaurant once a week. Similarly, on the streaming front, we know we reach the tip of the spear. Sports fans, our audience is streaming sports every week. And this bottom one is one of my favorites. Our audience is twice as likely to be in market for a car in the next 6 months. And that's the category that I always have fun with. We've had auto partners for years, GMC, Ford, Ram. And it always kind of cracks me up when people think we're too young, because it's not like you have blinders on and you get your driver's license and you finally see auto brands marketing to you. Like, those perceptions are being formed all along the way. And also Gen Z at the oldest have been driving for 10 years. So being able to go into a room and be armed with data points like these really help our sales team be more confident and more able to speak to why we're such a good fit.
Absolutely. And one thing I've always admired about the work that we've done, and I know there's a few folks from your team out here too, so the work that we've been doing together here is, you guys really invest a lot of time in understanding who that audience is, but also spend a lot of time and effort understanding the impact that these partnerships are having when people are working with you. And I know we've done a good amount of work around that as well, like the work with Domino's. When we were looking at some of the, I believe it was your influencer product, Swarm, you guys were marketing the Domino's Rewards program through that. Can you speak a little bit to that campaign, how that came about, and success you saw with that?
Absolutely. So we would use data and insights from a category study, for example, to help crack new business like Domino's. And they came to us, they've got strong awareness, of course, but really wanted to engage the next generation, both around their brand, but also around the rewards program, which is where Swarm, to your point, one of our engaged products, it's like our version of influencer marketing, was a really good format for us to tap into because it allows our talent. You saw Overtime Megan before, this is Overtime Day, Alex Day. They're each able to bring the messaging to life in their own unique way, and that really helps drive a lot of the brand KPIs that we want to see because it's not force fit, it's everyone using their own authentic voice. And so we were able to drive statistically significant lifts, I always trip over that, in a lot of their brand KPIs, in awareness and purchase intent. And one of the things that we love about Knit is also getting to see on a competitive set level. So we were able to see they were #1. And then in terms of, that's good, you can go ahead. In terms of the rewards program, we were also able to ask about that. And we found that over 8 in 10 were either part of the rewards program, and one of them have been since the beginning of COVID, or we're thinking about it. And so it just shows Domino's that we're able to make sure we're hitting on their KPIs every step of the way and generate renewal.
Absolutely. And I think it's really interesting, all the different formats that you guys offer for brands to engage this next generation. One of the ones I'm very excited about is all the work you guys are doing with launching these new leagues. I see the big basketball one at Atlanta all the time when I'm there. I know you guys are investing a lot there, and it makes sense, right? It's that perfect combination of influence and scale converging together, and a really unique way to give access to this next generation. Could you speak a little bit more about some of these new leagues that you guys are launching and how you're giving brands access to a partner and reach Gen Z through these leagues?
Yeah, so once you have the scale and the influence, it's really fun to be able to see what you can do with that next. And so one of the things that we've been doing is launching our own disruptive leagues and IP. We still work with, you saw the slide with NFL. We still play really nicely in the sandbox, but we're also launching our new leagues. Our OTE league just wrapped its 3rd season on Sunday, City Reapers in 5. And that's been really fun to come see to life. We also launched a women's basketball league in Overtime Select. We've got a 7-on-7 football league and our boxing property, which I'm sure you guys saw all of those in the sizzle. But it's a great way, to your point, to get brands into the mix in a different way. And usually it's through a year-long, multi-year process, and we measure a bunch of different touch points along the way. But for Cash App, they joined mid-season, which isn't always the norm, and sponsored our dunk show. And so with only one activation under the belt, we wanted to show how much we are already moving the needle for them. And so these are just some of the stats that we were able to show through one activation in the dunk show. We were able to lift awareness. And then one of the things, they already had pretty positive brand perception. We were still incrementally able to add another 15 percentage points onto that.
That's awesome. And such a great way to use the Knit platform as well, right? Not to only understand the categories, but then actually measure the impact that you're having for your brand partners. It's just been awesome to be part of this journey with you all this last year. And thank you so much again for coming and speaking with us today and sharing a little bit more about Overtime, what you guys have planned, and how you're using research. We have a couple minutes left, so would love to open it up for any Q&A for Jamie or myself.
Hello, my name is Dustin. I am the Chief Brand Officer of the Dollar Boys. Just in case you didn't know what the Dollar Boys are, we are a Philadelphia youth dance positive group. We actually, we mostly dance, rap, and we also do play sports, but I just want to know, do you guys actually collab, or do you guys support dance groups?
I would say we cover dance in a way that makes sense on our platform. So sometimes the things that I come across, I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old, and sometimes I'll see something on our platforms about a toddler mom, and I'm like, oh, I never would have thought. But I think we find creative ways to cover things that are being talked about on social. Okay. I know breaking is going to be part of the Olympics. I'm sure there will be moments that come out that are dance related that weave their way into our platforms in some way.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, Jamie, thanks again for coming today and sharing a little bit more. And thank you all. Really appreciate the time.